Lucamus Prime here, so it's time for another franchise ranking video. So this I'm going to be ranking one of my all-time favourite franchises ever, which I'm a die-hard fan of, being the Indiana Jones franchise. So yeah, so this will include all 4 of the movies that were released so far, and obviously it won't include the 5th one because that's not out yet, it's out in 2 years' time. So yeah, let's begin the ranking. So, and yes guys, I am wearing a fedora for this occasion. So, starting with my all-time favourite Indiana Jones film, which I absolutely love and I can't stop rewatching, and it's also my favourite film directed by Steven Spielberg, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, I literally have no problem at all with this movie. I love all the performances by the cast, it was really amazing, and the villain was also a great choice too. The music by John Williams was perfection. I definitely do love the chase scene as well, with the convoy and Indy chasing after it. That was a really epic scene. Like, I remember I was about 5 years old watching this movie, and it brings up so many incredible memories. Like, this was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I really loved it. And I already loved Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and I definitely really loved him as Indiana Jones in this. And I also love the iconic scene where Indy shoots that swordsman. That was pretty funny. and I definitely really love the whole chemistry between Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood. Like, I gotta say, Marion's my favourite love interest of Indy. Like, her chemistry with Indy is amazing. It really is. And the fight scenes are also great, such as the fight between Indy versus Pat Roach's character. And yeah, I love this movie. And I give this movie a full-blown 10 out of 10. I just really love it, Raiders of the Lost Ark. My second favourite would be The Last Crusade from 1989, released 8 years after Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981. I give this movie a 9 out of 10. So what I like about this, once again, the whole acting was great from all the cast. You know, Harrison Ford, the great Sean Connery as Henry Jones. And I definitely did also like the addition of Julian Glover as Donovan. Even though he said he felt his American accent for the character was pretty bad, I kind of agree with him on that. It wasn't really the best American accent, but still, his performance as the character was great nonetheless. And everything else was also really amazing. I liked Elsa as well. I did love the twist where we thought she'd be the next love interest of Indy, but it turned out that she was actually working with the bad guys in this movie. Like, I was really shocked at that. I definitely also love the return of Salah and also of Brody as well, because they were absent in the second film of the series. I was glad they both came back for this. I also loved the scenes with young Indiana Jones played by River Phoenix, may he rest in peace as well. And also I liked the Venice chase and also the convoy chase, you know, in the desert towards the end of the movie. And Donovan's death was also a really satisfying moment in the movie, guys, I'm telling you. Like, where you think he's drunk the right, the right grail, but it turned out to be the false one and he turns into dust. Like, I remember, as soon as he began to age, I started clapping with praise, knowing he'd been defeated. Like, yes. And of course, the music by John Williams was also really amazing, too, once again. And also, the entire chemistry between Indiana Jones and his father was, like, probably the number one best thing about this movie. I really loved it. Like, I'd say that was probably the number one highlight of the movie. It was really great, and sure doesn't out to Raiders of the Lost Ark, in my opinion, but I still really love this movie. It's very good. My third favourite would be The Temple of Doom from 1985, and so yeah, now, while this is the second film in the series, guys, we've got to remember this is a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it's set several years prior to the events of Raiders, so technically it's a prequel, not a sequel. So what do I like about it? Once again, the whole acting was great, such as, once again, by the legendary Harrison Ford, and I really loved Amrish Puri as Mola Ram. Amrish, rest in peace. Like, Mola Ram is my favourite Indiana Jones villain. Despite the fact he's not in Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's my favourite Indiana Jones villain because he was so terrifying and a really perfect choice. And he was so ruthless and evil, menacing. He was amazing. Like, it's a shame we didn't get the talent of Amrish Puri in a Star Wars movie, isn't it? Because we could have needed someone like him in a Star Wars movie because he was such a great, villainous actor. He really was. And I also definitely love the addition of Jonathan K. Kwan, or K-Hawk, on whatever you want to call him, as a short round. Like, him as a companion to Indy was amazing as well. Like, I really loved his whole chemistry with Indiana Jones as well. It was so great. The action sequences were also great as well. I definitely liked them, and I liked as well that once again the music was also great too, and pretty scary at times too, which fit into the film really. And the bridge fight at the end was also really great too. And also the fight between Indy and the Chieftain, also played by Pat Roach, was also amazing. the opening chase in Shanghai was also another great highlight. I really liked it. And I liked, as well, like, it was really amazing. Like, some of the action was a little bit improved, and yeah, it was really good. I really loved it. There is, however, a few problems I do have with this movie, guys, which is my third favourite. Like, for example, now, with regards to Willie, or Wilhelmina Scott, we want to call her, I have, like, mixed opinions on her, because, like, there were parts where she was funny, but parts where she was annoying, such as when she screamed, like, it got my nerves a bit. Then again, though, I can understand why she'd scream if she was in a room full of bugs, because I myself, because if you know this, guys, I've got a phobia of insects. Not of snakes like Indy, but I've got a phobia of insects. So I know how she must have felt screaming like that. I mean, she was covered in 2,000 bugs, like, oh my goodness. Real bugs, too, in the filming of it. But yeah, Kate Capshaw did a great job, and of course, she was probably in this movie because she's Steven Spielberg's wife. And she was also taught how to scream as well, which was a pretty cool thing, yeah, and she pulled off really well as Willie. But to be honest, I prefer Marion as a love interest of Indy, really. That's who I prefer, really. But the one biggest problem of this movie, guys, and you can probably agree with me on this, is I don't like how, for a movie that was, you know, released primarily aimed at children, that this movie was far too dark. Like, oh my goodness. Like, this movie should have been rated PG-13 or R in America instead of PG. Like, because this movie was incredibly dark, such as the whole Fuggy ceremony scene, like, and everything else, really, all the brutality. Like, it was absolutely horrible for me as a kid. I mean, because I was a bit traumatized about when I was a kid, guys, because I saw this, you know, in order after I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I was pretty scared by it, to be honest. I think I had a few nightmares over it, too. So I kind of wish I saw it now when I'm 20. But nonetheless, I do enjoy this movie still, and I still watch it to this day. It's a really good movie, despite the fact that it's way too dark. I mean, as a fun fact, guys, it was this movie that created the whole PG-13 rating in America, really. Like, they introduced that because I think a lot of children seeing it were really scared. I don't blame them, because this movie was pretty terrifying. Like, if it was released now, it probably would have been rated 12 in my country, or PG-13 in America. And now we get down to my least favourite in franchise, which you probably already guessed is Kingdom of Crystal Skull from 2008. Released, I think it was it 9 years after the 19 years after The Last Crusade. Yeah, 19 years of waiting, goodness. What did I like about this movie? Well, once again, the acting was great from Harrison Ford, obviously, and also, I definitely did like Cate Blanchett as Irina Spalko, even though I prefer her as Galadriel from Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit films. And I also did like Ray Winston as Mac, or George McHale, we want to call him. He was great, and it was a pretty cool twist how he turned evil, like, at the start of the movie. Like, I was not expecting that at all. I also did like John Hurt, may rest in peace, as Oxley, I think he's called, yeah, Howard Oxley. And I definitely really, really love the return of Marion. Like, I was so glad she came back in this movie. And another thing that I do like as well was how Indiana Jones and Marion got married at the end. Like, in my opinion, that was the perfect ending. It's not really my favourite Indiana Jones movie, but their wedding was perfect. Like, the best way to wrap up the story, in my opinion. And the action scenes were also really good too as well. And the music by John Williams was once again really amazing. I definitely like the fight between Indiana Jones and Dovchenko, you know, the Russian colonel. He was meant to be like the Pat Roach character, because obviously Pat Roach unfortunately passed away, so Dovchenko was like his replacement in a way. Now, I do have quite a few problems with this movie, guys. I did not like Mutt. I was not a big fan of Mutt at all, really. Now, this is not because he played by Shia LaBeouf, because I don't blame actors. It wasn't his fault. But I just didn't like the way Mutt was characterised, really. And don't even get me started on the scene where he's swinging on vines. Like, really? You're not Tarzan? Come on. I also didn't like how this movie was so incredibly long compared to the other movies, really. Like, it was far too long. And, like, there were some parts where it got really, really boring, too, that they could have cut out to make it a similar length to the other three movies. And also, as well, I think you can probably agree with me, I did not really like the scene where Indiana Jones hides in a fridge to avoid a nuclear bomb. Like, how did he survive the nuclear bomb in a fridge, of all things? Like, seriously? He should have got vaporized. but somehow, some way, he survived, which is very confusing, isn't it? So, guys, this is me doing my ranking of the Indiana Jones movies. You know, despite that I'm not really a fan of Kingdom of the Squad, I still like it. I give it a 5 out of 10, and I gave Temple of Doom 7.5 out of 10 as well. This is my ranking, guys. So, number 1, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 10 out of 10. Number 2, The Last Crusade, 9 out of 10. Number 3, The Temple of Doom, 7.5 out of 10. And number 4, Kingdom of Crystal Skull, 5 out of 10. And I'm very excited for Indiana Jones 5 as well, guys. Will it coming in 2 years? I hope it's really good and it doesn't fail. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to let us know in the comments how you guys would rank the Indiana Jones movies. I'd love to see how you guys would rank them. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel for videos coming in the future. And I will see you all later.